I hope everybody's had a nice week here in the UK. Winter has crept in, so it's freezing cold all of a sudden. On today's show, we're going to be doing the second part of our sickle cell awareness show. Now, we done the first part a few weeks ago, and I'm so happy to say that I have my two guests who are in the part one show. Ruth. Hi, Ruth. Thank you so much for coming. For me, thank you so much for coming. And we have another guest, Tunde Akintola. Tunde, thank you so much for joining us. And, you know, I'm really happy to see you here today, Tunde, because I think it's really important that we also get it from a male prospect as well. I think, you know, there's a lot of things we do, we always get the woman's side. But it's nice to get both sides because, and a lot of the time, both sides are affected differently. So I'm hoping that on today's show we'll be able to, you know, cross the board so people can see both sides. Thank you so much, guys. Guys, this is a live show. So if at any point of time you need to ring in, you need to ask any questions or you think you need to clear anything up, please feel free to ring in. The number will be scrolled at the bottom of the screen. Thank you. Guys, what I thought I'd do, I thought I'd start with a recap of the last show, and then we can go into... We can start with Tunde, as he's the new guest on the show. So, on the last show, what we done was we covered what sickle cell is. We also spoke about the experience of living with sickle cell, the symptoms of sickle cell, you know, so the health symptoms and also the social symptoms of sickle cell. And also we looked partly at the emotional side of it as well. We also looked at the type of things that you should do as someone who has the disorder. So we're hoping that we will cover other things because we realised that 1 hour was definitely not enough. So what we'll do, Tunde, can we start with you?
Okay.
Thank you, I'm not picking on you. Thank you so much. Tunde, as a man living with the blood disorder sickle cell, how has it been?
Oh.
And it's an emotional journey, isn't it?
Well, it is. I think the thing with sickle cell is that every aspect of your life can be affected in the same way that the illness itself affects anywhere that you have blood flow. Yeah. So it affects, it doesn't matter whether it's your social life, whether it's your professional life, your job, your studying, if you're at that stage of your life. Yeah. So everything becomes that much harder. Not impossible. I want to stress that.
That is very good, yeah.
I don't want to make it sound as though, but it does raise extra challenges and it demands more from you in terms of how you would plan to deal with things, how you would respond to certain situations. So, for example, studying, when when you're at school, a lot of people wait till the end of the year, then they start cramming, and you have these mad crams. In fact, we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
2 weeks of cramming, and then they take the exams. So if you have sickle cell, imagine you do that. So you wait, and then the last 2 weeks, all of a sudden you have a crisis.
Yeah.
What happens? So that means those exams are a wash. You can't take them, or you do really badly. So you find that you have to be methodical. Maybe you start being that boring person who studies from the beginning of the year all through, or trying to do assignments and so on early. So I'm just saying that things are possible. You just need to think about them a bit more and maybe be more thoughtful in your actions.
Wow, that sounds to me you need to be much more organised because of the situation. What about work-wise?
So work-wise, it depends. If you have an understanding employer,
yes,
because obviously in the UK there is, that's if you are in the UK.
If you are,
or or the EU, or even the US, Canada, so on. There's legislation to protect you if you're classed as having a disability. They may make special accommodations for you. For example, for myself, because I developed back issues, I had a special chair.
Yeah.
And this chair is a very expensive chair, and you can adjust every aspect of it. It's got air bladders in it, all of this, all because I had these back pains. But obviously, not everyone's going to be that understanding.
Yeah.
So you need to, if you can, because I understand with the economic situation we have, it's not always possible to select what you will and will not do. But as much as possible to try and either ask your employer for maybe those extra provisions that you do need, or possibly even to make them yourself.
So can I ask you, let's say you go for a job interview now.
Yes.
Would it be advisable that you tell your employer right from the beginning that you have this disorder, or is it something that you just wait until you get a crisis? What would you advise?
Oh, see.
I know it would really, really depend on the type of employer you have.
Yeah.
But then there's also an advisable way to put it, because you can never know what that employer is like until something happens. But what would be the best way? Because are you more protected if you tell them about it and they say, okay, we don't mind, we'll still take you on? Or do you feel you're better off just going into the job and then if a crisis comes along?
Okay. I reckon it depends, at least in my personal experience.
Yeah.
It depends on whether you're focused on getting a job or keeping a job. Okay. If you're just talking about, I want to get through the interview and, seem acceptable and so on, then you go there, you don't tell them anything, do whatever. Yeah. And then as soon as a problem arises, you seem like this dishonest person. You had this thing, you knew it could affect your performance, you didn't tell them, and so there's no reason they wouldn't get rid of you.
They are entitled to do that at that point, are they?
If you, say in the first 6 months that you're working for the company, obviously this is if you're a full-time employee. If you're part-time, other rules apply and so on. But normally there's a 6-month probation period, and even then they still have 2 years in which they can just dismiss you.
Definitely.
So the first problem comes up, you didn't work with them, you didn't store any goodwill by sort of, what should I say, alerting them to the situation. So they may just get rid of you. So if you do tell them, some people do have prejudices against the disabled or whatever, so some people will not take you on. But the ones that do, at least you can be fairly certain that they know what they're getting into and they're willing to do what it takes to help you be effective in your role.
So you will be protected. You kind of have that feeling that you will definitely be protected.
I do have that feeling more.
Sorry, Femi, would you like to add something to that?
I'd like to add to that quickly. It's amazing how you asked that question, because I asked that question on the social media sites.
Okay.
And I remember very clearly, some people said, well, at least 50% came up and said, well, we'll tell them. Another 50 said, no way am I going to tell my employer that. And the reason why I won't tell my employer is they won't trust me enough or to understand what my disease is like. So I'd rather wait till I get ill and then make sure the problem comes up. Now, we're talking social media, you're talking, this is around the world.
You're talking about people being realistic.
Being realistic, quite realistic. So different things happen in different countries of the world.
Definitely,
In England, you've got employers who invest in their people. You've got this investors in people thing.
Especially in the private sector.
In the private and public sector. Sector. You've got, at least within government sectors as well. So you've got all these investors in people, policies and everything. So they do have like welfare departments that you could literally visit, and they would attach you to welfare personnel once you do get in there to say, okay, how does your illness affect you? But I've also found out that within the private sector they have kind of like the same thing, but it also depends on how your illness affects you. Now, if within a month you're ill, 2 weeks of that month, and you are in a high-powered job.
Yeah.
How exactly do you intend to keep the job?
Because how can you operate
your
right potential or your expected potential?
Yeah. Because, and don't forget, the private sector is also quite, there's a lot of, they're quite competitive.
I don't know, I'm just thinking here, I find from my experience that the private sector can be more competitive because there's people at the top there watching the profit margins.
Absolutely.
Whereby in the government sector, they're a bit more relaxed depending on who you get as a manager.
Absolutely.
Or your colleagues, yeah.
Absolutely. And because I fell into this situation years ago where I was literally told I'd exceeded my sick days.
Yeah.
And I had to now take
annual leave
to cover
You're sick.
my sick days.
Yeah.
And obviously you get to a point, it's unpaid annual leave. When you do need the annual leave, you don't get it.
You can't even get your own personal annual leave anymore. That's your holiday gone out.
That's your holiday gone out of the window. And so all those things now creep in to the point where I remember taking this time off and I was literally called in for disciplinary to say I'd taken so many days off and, you know, the organization had to run. How were they going to survive?
Can I add to that? That also impacts on your emotional state, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And also your confidence within the workplace.
Yeah. Yeah, because you begin to think, oh my goodness, how am I going to survive in this job? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And today, we know so many people that have lost their jobs just because of this issue.
Yeah.
But then you also have good employers. It just depends where you go. You have good employers who won't actually look, you know, and see the amount of sick days you've taken up because all they're looking at is your performance, as it were, has, you know, is quite good.
Yeah.
So it just depends on who you get.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we're looking at, because I remember having this discussion on Facebook and people really came up with all sorts of, you know, reasons why they wouldn't tell their employer. And obviously, you would get sacked if you don't, because it would, I mean, like Tunde said earlier, it would, you know, they would deem it as being dishonest.
It gives them grounds, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And on most forms, they do ask you about any illness.
Yeah.
Yes.
But part of me was thinking that, when I asked that question, part of me was thinking that if I go for an interview and I now tell them, if I don't get the job, then do I stop and think that, okay, I didn't get it because I didn't perform well. I didn't get it because I told them about this illness. And then how does that affect my confidence as somebody who's even going for interviews?
Well, I think the thing that I can say is truthfully, some people are going to do that. Yeah. Okay. It's not a good thing, but they are going to. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah. But the good thing is, firstly, you don't have to start going into details about if you say you have a disability and there's a legal classification. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to try and say that for people. But if they look it up under, basically, there's a legal definition of disability which has to do with how it impacts you
on your work.
Impacts
your work. Yeah.
Yes. So once you've said you have a disability, it's more a case of, can you still do the job? Can you? So if there's a certain amount of output, I don't know,
depending on whatever the job
is, can you do those things if your employer makes reasonable accommodations for you? Because speaking for myself, I once took a job that I couldn't do. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? And I mean, I was qualified for the job in terms of I could do it, but it affected my health so badly that in the end they had to let me go. Yeah. And this is because, foolishly, and I know anybody with sickle cell listening to this it involved a lot of working outside at all times of year. It involved a lot of exposure to the public. You can get whatever chest infection.
So because of your immune system being low, then that's not a good idea. Yeah.
So you also need to know what kind of work you're taking. If you're going to take the kind of, as Fumi said, a high-powered job.
Yeah.
So if you were going to go and work a job that you were supposed to work, I don't know, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
You know, you need to think about it very carefully.
So that as being a person who has sickle cell, that is you pushing yourself beyond your boundaries.
Absolutely.
You have to be realistic, because I'm thinking what we could go in from this part of the discussion is, could we talk about healthy living for sickle cells? What is the best way to live? And can I turn to Ruth? Ruth, you haven't said anything yet. Can I turn to you? And you know, what are those things that a person who has sickle cell needs to do to keep themselves as healthy as possible?
In the first instance, your diet must be a complete diet. When I say complete diet, vegetables, fruits, and also drinking a lot of water. Some people who've got sickle cell tend to like fizzy drinks and things like that, Coke, Sprite. It's not very good for the body because it brings on a lot of hydration. So water is much better. And if you're going to take anything like fruit juices, you know, those which you can juice yourself if you want to, which is quite good because you know what you're putting inside your juice. And also exercise, not exercise and it's strenuous exercise, taking short walks just helps the body helps the blood flow the system.
The blood flow,
and then you can exercise the muscles, because you find out that when you're in one place for a long time or you sit down for too long, as time goes on the muscles begin to weaken, and you find it more difficult to sort of walk or do anything. The slightest thing you do, you find that you get tired very easily. Also, stress, anything that's going to give you any stress, make sure you keep aware of. I know it's in this whole world, it seems impossible to say you are stressed, but as much as you can, because sometimes that brings on a crisis.
So when you talk about stress now, you are talking about anything. You know, if you've got like a friend that stresses you out, you know, comes to you with so many issues, and it's like, I can't take this anymore. You know, unfortunately for your own good, that friend needs to be one that you see a lot less.
Very true.
You know, if you've got an old banger of a car that stresses you every morning, that car needs to go.
Trust me.
So it's anything that rises your blood levels and gets you into that, you know, anger mode activated.
Exactly.
Right.
Also, things like supplements, supplementing your diet. Most people who've got sickle cell have what you call folic acid, which you take because it helps to produce blood in the bone marrow, from blood in the bone marrow. But you can take that naturally, like a lot of vegetables have folic acid in it, and it's natural, and the body recognizes that very well and sort of takes that on board. It's much better.
Because I know my friend does a lot of juicing with the spinach, kai, the nuts, a lot of, you know, raw veg.
Exactly. It says the more your food is, the better your food is when it's more natural, like raw fruits or raw vegetables. Sometimes it's not very easy to take, but at least you know it does the body a lot of good because it sort of also builds up your immune system. And there are things like make sure that where your environment is a bit stressed, a bit chemical free. I know it's not difficult. It's difficult to say that your environment has to be
totally chemical free.
Because most of the products that we use, there's a lot of chemicals in it. But there are also natural ones which you can find out and look for, which you can also use.
Sugar.
Sugar, sugar
is avoid
completely.
Are you serious?
Strike it out of your diet completely.
So what natural sugars and not
you know the white sugar that we normally have. That's a no-go area because what it does, it depletes some of the vitamins in the system, and it in a way sort of lowers the immune system. But there's something they call trehalose. It's also a type of sugar, but it has a lot of benefits in it.
Yeah.
And what that trehalose does is helps the system. It's 45% less sweeter than sugar.
Okay.
So there's no matter how much you put in your tea or whatever, it's still going to taste the same way. So
Like for the whole bag.
so there's so many things that you can do. So once you get avoid sugar a lot, and find that in most of these drinks like Coke and fizzy drinks, there's a lot of sugar in it.
Yeah, they're made up of sugar.
Exactly,
really, aren't they?
exactly.
Yeah.
Especially for young children, if you can train them, we find out when you train a child when it's quite young, their taste buds get used to what you give them all the time, and they can then grow up with that. But even with adults, like teenagers, we need to keep away from, like things that are too sugary. Yeah. Another thing is, when you walk or when you're doing anything, your body has a way of telling you, I've had enough. And when your body tells you, I've had enough, just stop short at that point in time.
So that's it. No, once again, when it comes to, it's not like you get to the gym and you want to sweat it out. You need that sweat to be dripping from your body. When you're feeling a little bit of pain, it's time to. That sounds like, don't go to the gym and carry weights. Or carry light weights.
Carry light weights.
I'm okay. Although you can't tell from looking at me now.
Yeah.
No, I like to be honest.
What have you got hidden?
But there was a point in my life where I went to the gym. I mean, we're talking 4 times a week. Okay,
wow.
No, I was breaking it down in the gym, and what I found was, okay, imagine you have one of those plans that they tell you, 6 months, whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe with sickle cell, maybe you make it take a year instead, or 18 months.
Okay,
What you need to do is
spread it out.
Yes, you start at a lower level, you build yourself up more gradually. So you're patient with yourself. You take your time doing these things. You do these things in moderation, and you avoid, because the diet thing is very important. Making sure that you eat well, making sure you eat enough, making sure you drink enough.
And the right food, you're drinking the right thing.
This is it. But there's also the element of, say for example, cold is one of, I'm speaking for myself now, cold is one of my worst enemies. Things like dehydration, exhaustion, terrible, so as long as you moderate, it sounds boring. So it's like you're living a boring life now. You're having to eat certain things in certain quantities.
Isn't it what you have to do if you want to stay out of hospital for as long as possible? Yes. Isn't it something that you need to get to the point that you have to accept that this is what you need to do?
Yes.
Isn't it? Rather than beat yourself up about it and try and fight against it.
Yes. Well, yes. So, I mean, these ladies have iron wills. I don't. No.
What, do you think you've been pushing your limits?
Yes. I mean, for me, all the other things are fine, but sugar is my vice. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I have a real problem with sugar. So, when they tell you sugar is addictive, yes, I am evidence that sugar is addictive. No, I'm very serious. So, all is not lost, is what I'm saying. If you're not able to be that disciplined,
100%.
yes, as long as you do try. In my case, my wife makes sure that I eat properly. I know it sounds very stereotypical, but without her help, all of the things that I've done, including finishing university, although she wasn't my wife then, so my then girlfriend, my now wife, helped me. So having a support system, I would have said, is just as important.
Well, you see, I don't think that sounds stereotypical, because at the end of the day, when she met you, she knew that you had sickle cell, and she chose to be with you. And so it becomes your role. She wants you around longer, then she has to be part of that process. And just like you said about the support networks, have people around you that have positive minds and
Yes.
also are aware of your limitations, so they can pull you back at
Yes.
times. So
this is the thing. So she and friends as well. So for example, if I remember a friend of mine seeing me on Oxford Street,
yeah,
and it started raining, okay,
yeah.
and I was saying I was going to get on the bus to go home, and he dragged me physically into John Lewis, that before he let me go anywhere, I was buying an umbrella because it was cold.
Yeah,
I would get
and you
wet
should-
and
yeah.
so on. And
And
I was
once you
thinking,
get wet,
yes.
then
And
it
I
can
had
bring
an
on
umbrella
prices.
at home. I was thinking, why am I spending £20 to buy an umbrella? But he
How about because you decided to go to an expensive shop? They do have some
yes.
little corner shops down the West End.
Yes.
Yeah, there's even boots. £5
I don't know why he chose John Lewis, but yes.
because he was a posh dude.
And he's a big guy, so.
There you
I didn't know, so. But no,
yeah.
I'm very grateful for those people giving me the help and
Yeah.
support that I
That
have.
is very important. Yeah.
Because what I can say is I had a period in my life where I was in and out of hospital
yeah.
constantly. So if I had a crisis today, if I got out from an admission today,
Yeah.
maybe in 6 weeks' time I'd be back in. You know,
Yeah.
and it would go on and on like that, and it's very disruptive to everything in your life. And
Yeah.
now, although it may not seem remarkable to people who don't have sickle cell, I haven't been in hospital since, I mean, we're talking like 5-6 years now.
Are you serious?
No, seriously. So,
And would you say that is because of the change in your lifestyle?
yes.
You making that recognition that, you know, I need to stop certain things.
Yes.
No, because the reason why I ask you that is because I've got a friend, and you know, I think we share the same friend.
I think we're
And-
going to talk about something concerning.
Oh,
this as well.
yeah, that would be nice because I find, and if you're listening, darling, I'm talking to you as well. I find that she pushes her limits,
Okay.
and I try to say to her, you need to step back. You need to, you know, I know you would love to do this, you would love to do that, but I really feel that you need to recognise that you can't do this and you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I think at the moment she has a battle within her about what she can do and what she can't do.
Yeah.
So I hope that she's listening to you, because I feel that for you to sit here and say, I used to go to hospital every 6 weeks,
Yes.
and now because I changed my lifestyle and I've recognised my limitations,
Yes.
I haven't been in hospital for 6 years, 5 years. So that means it's possible.
Yes.
Yes.
But, you know, you have to make hard decisions and
You
step
do.
back. Thank you for that.
I was actually going to add to that because I actually know quite a few people that go in and out.
Yeah.
But one of the things this is my advice, everybody's situation is always very different.
Yeah.
But I would always say this as well. Your health is more important than, you know, some situations. Because if you didn't have the health, you won't be able to do those things that you're doing in the first place.
Yeah.
So what I would advise is this, and I've given this advice to a young achiever as
Yeah.
well. And I've said, look, I know you would like to be like other people. You know, people. I'll give you a big breakdown now.
Yeah.
People with sickle cell don't like to, you know, conform to sickle cell. That's the first
It's
thing.
their way of
It's
saying,
their way of saying,
I
I
am
don't.
a survivor.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that's not about
It's,
survival.
it's not a bad. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
it's not about
but you
you
have
know,
to be realistic.
Exactly.
Very realistic,
Yeah.
because the issue with this is you now need to know yourself.
Yeah.
What I say to people is, especially if you have a flexible working environment,
Yeah.
you should be working in a flexible working environment.
Yeah.
I pray that you are working in a flexible, you know, environment
Yeah.
where you can work 4 days a week. I pushed it. I would do 8 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock till 7 o'clock in the evening. I wouldn't
But
get
isn't that
to.
you pushing it a bit?
Yeah, that's me pushing it. But I know
Yeah.
that on Friday I'm off.
So that will make
So
up
that
for,
would make up for my 10 to
Yeah.
10 to 6 or 10 to 7.
Yeah.
It just depends on you,
Yeah.
you know. But I would always say take 1 day out, you know, to rest.
I hope
Take
my friend
one
is
day
listening to
out
this.
to rest.
Yeah.
Because what the body actually tells you, one of the things I found with sickle cell is you push, and then what happens is the body now begins to react to your push. And then you get into a crisis.
Yeah.
And the issue with getting into a crisis is the crisis has to come out of your system.
That's it.
You can't push it.
You can't
just push
it to
keep
one side.
pushing it to one side.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't leave your system, the earlier you rest, the earlier it leave your system.
Yeah.
Just rest it out. It could be 2-3 days, rest it out. But if you keep pushing, what you're doing is you're deferring the crisis.
It's still going to happen.
It's still going to happen. All you're doing is deferring the inevitable.
Yeah.
And the more you keep deferring it, don't forget there's an impact, and I can say this anyway, there's an impact on your organs. There's an impact on, your system.
Yeah.
The last time I spoke about having 7 replacements.
Yes.
I was in a high-powered job, we needed their deadlines to be had, and I was pushing myself to the limit. But then you get to a point where you know that, look, I'd rather be alive than be in that hospital, than keep going through this.
And this is it, the reality of it, and I think a lot of people need to take on board, is that any job you're doing, if you drop dead tomorrow, somebody else will replace you. They're not going to say, oh, so-so has passed away, so you know what?
Yes.
Let's get rid of the post.
The issue is this. In fact, your replacement is waiting.
Thank you.
Your replacement is actually waiting because they're just waiting for. You know what it is? The moment you even take the time off, they're like, "Boss, did you?" That person is gone again. What are we going to do about that situation?
Times do they want
How many times do they want to go?
Right.
Do you know? How many times do they want to keep taking time out?
Yeah.
Do you understand, boss? Let's get somebody else in there.
No, you're very
So you've really, you see, I realized. One of the things I had to do over the years is be kind to myself.
Wow. Yeah.
Be kind. You need to know yourself. You really need to know yourself. Yeah. If it's a Saturday, Saturday, Sunday, excuse me, I'll see you later.
I'm in my bed.
I'm in my bed.
I'm
in my bed. Yeah. I don't push myself anymore. Yeah. There's no point in me saying I won't do it. And you see, as you get older, your body tends to slow down. You can't do the same things.
What you were doing when you were in your 20s.
When you were in your 20s.
Your 30s is not happening anymore.
I actually have a friend who used to tell me, when I was in my 20s, I used to go to work. I'll be out, high-powered job. Now I look at my friend and I can see that the limitations are in there.
Yeah.
He can't do all those things anymore.
Is he sickle cell as well?
Yes. Yeah. He can't do all those things anymore. Because the impact, and what I was saying is, the impact on the body, you tend to start having, with some people, it begins to affect them later on. Yeah. It affects the organs, it begins to affect you in some area, you begin to slow down. Take it easy now. Even with the university students, I always say to them, look, I know you have to study and study and study and study and study. Take 1 day time out. Even if it's half a day, rest that brain of yours.
Isn't there support they give universities?
They do. They do have the support.
It's about them taking what is there. Don't ever feel negative about taking what is being offered. Whatever it is being offered, take it because you do need it. You might not want to need it, but the reality is you do need it. So take it.
Yes, because imagine somebody going skydiving, and they go, I'm just, as an analogy, somebody goes skydiving, they get into the plane, and they jump out without a parachute because they don't want to give in to gravity.
Someday, I love this, your description. It's like, I can fly. One of those I can fly.
I
believe I can fly, that's all.
Use the parachute, soften your fall. Allow yourself to do the same thing, but without harming yourself. Because one thing, a lot of the time, people think about crisis, I just had a painful crisis. Yeah. So, but what they need to remember is that pain shows that damage is being done to your body. As for me very wisely said, this is something that has a cumulative effect. You're feeling this pain in your leg, that means the tissues in your leg or your bones or whatever are being damaged. How well are they healing?
You're not giving them time to heal, because you're coming out and you're going back to the life you left behind that led you to a crisis in the first place.
Yes.
And it's going to lead you straight back to another crisis. And that, you see, and that was one of the things for me. It's like, how do people who have sickle cell know their limitations? How does their
body tells
exactly?
That's it.
That's
your
it.
body. Do you know, honestly?
So once you are going in hospital repeatedly, then that is a message.
Yes.
That you need to change something.
That you need to change.
Absolutely.
Or if like if you get to a stage where you wake up in the morning and it seems as if you've been beaten like with a log. Just go back to bed. Can't even get out of bed. Just go back and go back and sleep. Don't even bother. Because at the end of the day,
and don't feel guilty about having to
that's
do
the point.
that, isn't it?
Many people, I think that's the point. People think, oh, I'm being lazy, so I need to get up and do something. No, let your body tell you when you can get. There's sometimes when you get up and you feel like you're on top of the world, I can do anything, and you take the opportunity to do what you need to do, and then rest again. But there's the next day they say, no, I'm not going nowhere, and what you can do about it. And it's better to heed to what the body is saying.
Listen to what your body is saying.
So then the body can then, at its own time, I mean, you won't, you're just saving yourself going into crisis often. And that's the most important advice,
I actually need to talk about this fatigue thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people with sickle cell.
So is fatigue one of the symptoms?
Fatigue is one of the symptoms. But you see, a lot of people with sickle cell don't even recognize it as a symptom.
So what do they think? They think
they're being lazy.
Oh.
They think they're just being lazy. And it's just a symptom that you will go through.
That you will go through,
You get tired. Your blood cells get tired.
At the end of the day, once your body is not producing enough oxygen, it's going to impact on your body. And one of the symptoms of you not having enough oxygen is... Wait, hold on a sec. Feeling tired. Sorry, I'm thinking, you know what, as I was talking, I was sitting there thinking, you're not a nurse, Susie, you're not a doctor. But I do know this stuff. I do know a bit of it. But but that is it. And I'm really happy that I've had this conversation because I find myself battling with one of my friends about what her limitations are and what she needs to do. And you come out of hospital, yes, you're out of hospital, but you still need to rest and recover from why you went into the hospital in the first place. You can't just get up and say, you know what, I'm off over there now.
It takes a week. It takes about a week to 2 weeks to recover from just being in. And
recovering is resting
absolutely
in your bed, having a stress-free, as much a stress-free life as possible. Because also, isn't it, can I check with you, does the morphine impact on your body after you've had it? So you've been in hospital having morphine for maybe a few days or a week. So the after effects of the morphine, what does that do to the body? And how long does it stay in the body for?
It depends. Morphine is addictive. And I'm going to say this.
Physiologically, it's what she means. Your body chemistry actually changes.
Yes.
So it's not a case of weakness in your mind. It's a case of changes in your body.
In your body.
From the morphine.
From the morphine.
Yeah.
And it depends on how long you've been taking it for. Because if you're in and out of hospital, obviously there's something that, and this is what the doctors always look at.
Yeah.
You see, we have a criteria in England. They say people with, it's not just in England, it's actually around the world.
Yeah.
They say people are addicted to morphine. They're addicted to the painkillers. That's why they keep coming in. That's not true. Sometimes some people are, some people aren't.
Yeah.
You know, morphine on the other hand, I find with myself that it takes me about a week to actually stay off morphine, to get it out of my system.
Are you still wanting it when they stop giving it? I'm just...
Some people... No, it's not the still wanting it. It could be that, because there are times that you'll be ill. You're coming out of hospital. You're out of hospital, you're still ill.
So it's kind of reminding me when, I know it's not the same thing, but when I had my daughter, and I had a cesarean and I was on the epidural, and it was like as soon as they gave me that shot, the pain went away.
Absolutely.
And I remember the doctor coming to say, oh, we've got to take the tube because there's a tube in your spinal cord. And the doctor saying, oh, we've got to take the tube out. And I was like, no, please don't take it out. Because every few, for a few hours, I was, and the doctor did leave it for another 2 days. And I was happy-go-lucky. As soon as they took it out, I couldn't even get out of bed.
Yeah.
That's it.
So it's similar to that.
It's similar to that because what it does, it affects your body actually.
Yeah.
It begins, because morphine is one of those relaxing, it relaxes your muscles, you know, and it also gives you a high.
Well, it can do. See, you know, part of the criteria. No, well, the reason
It is.
because part of the criteria that they use to distinguish between whether you're an addict or whether you actually have a problem is: do you go in and just get high, or do you actually have symptoms that are being treated? So if you go in and they give you the painkillers, and all you notice, you don't notice pain stopping, you just notice,
That's nice.
I feel
That's
that.
nice. I feel good.
Then there's a problem. If you feel it acting on you and your pain is then reduced, and you may feel better than you did before. You may feel, but your pain is gone. Then you're using it for the right purposes. But unfortunately, then when you come out, you can be depressed. It can affect your digestive system. Can affect your balance. Because I've had a time I came out of hospital and I fell down a flight of stairs because I don't know, morphine affects your central nervous system. And then before your body starts producing the chemicals that morphine suppresses, everything's off balance. So I fell downstairs because I was trying to go to the bathroom and
But not just that, I found that when you're in hospital as well, there are times where you get morphine shots.
Every few minutes. Every 20 minutes, is it?
Sometimes
They
time it depends on it depends on your doctor and it depends on the hospital. Now they don't give you that as much. But what they've now started doing is if you need it, you will call for it. If you don't call for it, then it means you don't need it. Let's be honest. Do you really need it?
But what I see whenever I go there, I see the unit, and apparently it dispels it every 20 minutes.
Yeah,
so
you've got
you can click it, or you can click it. It's there. You click it, then it won't allow you to click it again for another 20 minutes. And then as soon as it's 20 minutes, you can click it again.
That's the
patient control.
Patient control. But
PCA.
Thank you. That's the PCA. Now, a lot of hospitals don't use the PCA.
They don't use that anymore.
No, they would only use it maybe for the children, but they won't use it for the adults anymore.
And children, but can children know when to?
Some children know because once they're in pain, they would use it. But they will give them kind of like a longer period to dispel it as well. Because you can't dispel it within 20 minutes. You can't dispel it within an hour. It depends on the timer you have on it.
Definitely.
And they would really put mild doses in there for them. But if you're getting better in hospital, you shouldn't actually be calling for the morphine all the time.
You should be calling.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't really be calling for morphine, because once you're in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and the pain's literally subsided, then you should be easing off on the painkillers anyway.
So they should at least lessen the dosage that you're having.
Or change the medication.
Or change the medication to
but
something
even
else.
because with sickle cell patients as well, and I remember this happening. Maybe this is just me. I don't take it.
Don't you?
If I'm not in pain, I don't need it. I won't take it. I will tell you, please don't bring it.
Unlike some people, as soon as they walk into hospital, it's like,
can I have it?
I'll tell you. This just reminds me of me. When I was having my daughter, as soon as I walked in the hospital, I was like, epidural. They were like, you're only 1 centimetre. I'm like, what does that mean? Can I have an epidural? They're like, and every hour I was begging for it. So that's how it is for people.
But people, the pain differs. Pain differs in people. And I have to say this: everybody is different. So what I would do, other people may not necessarily do it.
Everybody's threshold of pain is different.
Some
people can endure it up to that. Some people can not at all.
But then, how do the hospitals determine who is just screaming for it for the sake of screaming for it, because they want that high, they want that feeling, and those that actually really do need it.
This is one of the most contentious issues.
Is it?
When
It sounds
you're
like
talking
it.
about the interactions between sickle cell
Yeah.
patients and their medical carers.
Because it sounds like there's a lot of trust, as in
There
you
sh-
tell
Yeah.
the
Tell
doctor
what-
what you're feeling, and you could just be saying after some time, you know what to say. So if you
Yeah.
want it,
Yeah.
then you know what to say to
Yeah.
get it,
Yeah.
and there's no way
Mm.
for that to be verified because it's a pain in your body and only you can feel it. Wow.
So the majority, at least this is in my experience, obviously,
Yeah.
as I said, I haven't
Everyone's
been
experience is different.
in a,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the majority of the doctors are on the side of, well, we're going to give as little as possible,
Yeah.
as infrequently as possible.
Possible.
Yeah.
As far as studies go, because they've done lots of studies about it, there's hardly any, the number of sicklers who are actually just going to hospital in order to have the drugs is very tiny,
Yeah.
you know. So it's not really a problem in that sense. It's just that because people have in their mind, you know, hard drugs, and we're giving these people these serious opiates and so on, then the likelihood tends more to be that somebody who's in a lot of pain
Yeah.
doesn't get given enough painkillers, as opposed to a junkie who also has sickle cell goes in and gets high.
Yeah.
You see, so
It's I guess it's one that they are still
yeah.
working on, and it seems like one they're going to keep on having
Yes,
to work
they
on,
would.
isn't it? Yeah.
The other issue is, even when you're in pain,
Yeah.
they have other interventions that they're using
Is
now
there? Okay.
to ensure that, okay, you're in pain. Are you in pain because of infection, or are you in
Yeah.
pain because you just went into a crisis? What exactly is causing your pain?
So every time a sickle cell falls sick, it's not that they're in crisis. Sometimes it's because their immune system is low, and so they are open to get an
Yes.
infection. So it's sometimes it's not actually a crisis. It's something
No, no,
else.
no, no.
Sometimes
It is- you-
It's always a crisis.
It's a crisis.
Yeah.
But what caused the crisis?
Okay.
You see, they have to first check the two things. When you're going, two things they check first
Yeah.
is how frequently have you been coming in? That's the first thing
yeah.
they check. The second thing they check is, do you have an infection? Because most people with sickle cell
Yeah.
go into hospital because of an infection.
Oh.
So infection could cause crisis.
Okay.
So your immune system's down. You've picked up an infection somewhere, and obviously your body can't cope anymore.
Yeah.
There's some things you can cope at. I mean, we can't say people with sickle cell have crisis at home,
Yeah.
but they're able to manage it,
Yeah.
and that's because there's no infection. If you
Oh.
happen to go into hospital quite frequently, you know, you're in hospital, I would say the only time I would go into hospital is when I have an infection and I can't manage it at home.
Yeah.
Stress could cause crisis. But can you manage that stressful crisis at home? Or do you need to go in? Once you're in with an infection, they first of all have to check how far gone is this infection
Yeah.
and what can we do about it? Do we, first of all, use the first intervention?
Yeah.
Chest crisis, for instance, the first thing they would do with a chest crisis, because that can actually cause more damage
To the
than
body.
good.
Yeah.
And people have actually died from chest crisis
Yeah.
because it's been ill managed.
Yeah.
So the first thing they will do is give you a blood exchange, a red cell exchange,
Yeah.
to get rid of your sickle levels
Okay.
out of your
yeah.
system, so that at least that actually dispels the crisis.
Yeah.
So once that's done, then they now start treating the infection
Yeah.
in the chest. They start treating that. So once you've got enough antibiotics in your system that's combating
Your
that,
body can now.
your body can now actually heal from that
Yeah.
crisis.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you've gone in for,
So, yeah.
and it depends on what you're holding on to.
Yeah.
Some people could just, some people are prone to crisis because they've probably got 100% S cells in their system.
Yeah.
It may not necessarily be because of infection. It just means that the triggers of the S cells within the system are quite high.
Wow.
So what do we do?
Yeah.
Do we transfuse or do we red cell exchange?
Yeah.
So those are the things. But you can't, they give you a red cell exchange probably every 6 weeks. It's not a major
That's
operation.
quite traumatic on itself, isn't it?
It's not a major operation.
Yeah.
It's just
It's
one
like
line
having a
going
drip.
in. It's like having a drip. It's
Yeah.
one line going in, one line coming out.
Yeah.
You know, one line extracting.
So you're not
your
really
red cells.
feeling pain
You don't
while you're
feel-
having
you don't
it.
feel it.
Yeah.
You don't literally feel a red cell exchange. You basically, because it's one part coming out, one part going
I
in.
guess it's more of an inconvenience because you have to stay in one place so that
Absolutely.
your lines
Absolutely.
don't get moved or come out of the vein or anything,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
And then it depends, are you on a machine or are they doing it manually?
Or you mean whether it's the automated?
Or that's the automated
Yes.
red cell system, because there is an automated red cell machine that does
Yeah.
it. And they could do that over, possibly, they run it maybe 4 hourly, 6 hourly,
Wow.
and you're all done.
Yeah.
Because it goes really
Can I
fast.
just ask you something? Might be a bit naive of me, I hope you don't mind. But soon as a sickle cell patient has a blood exchange, do they become well straight away, or does the body still have to get used to the new blood in the system?
Good, very good question. Some people are fine. Some people, on the other hand, it has to settle. It's like, with some people, they say it's like having a stem cell transplant. It takes time for the body to get used to
Yeah.
the new blood within the system, because you're getting it from different people, different
Yeah.
places. And then, so you have to get used to that.
Yeah.
But with some people, they're fine. It depends.
It depends
It's
I guess
really,
everything is an
everything
individual
is an individual
thing,
thing.
isn't it?
There's just some things I literally wanted to mention at this
I
point
wanted to
in time.
say we have 5 minutes left, so I've looked
Yeah.
at the list, and I know one of the things you really wanted to do was you wanted to talk about the 9 specialist
Specialist centres
centres
within
in London.
London.
And I think also it's nice to talk about the London thing and the outside London. I
Yeah.
think it's nice to get that in. Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to mention that we have 9 sickle cell centres within London.
Yeah.
And I was just going to mention these. We've got St Mary's Hospital in Paddington. These are
Well,
specialist
let's
centres.
not go through all of them
them.
because you've got only a few
You
minutes
can actually
left,
go
so
on
they
the
can-
website to check it
Exactly,
out.
they can Google it. Yeah.
But then I also wanted to talk about wholesome cells and what we do.
Yeah.
Because I remember last time we missed that out. And
We did.
We didn't
yeah,
talk
the
about
conversation
wholesome cells.
went. Yeah.
We run a sickle cell organisation,
Yeah.
and we deal with people that have, sickle cell first-time parents. But mostly, would like to really talk to people that have sickle cell, existing
Yeah,
sickle cell,
sickle
because
cell
we realise that
carriers,
not a lot of people talk about it.
Is it because they've learnt to manage it in their own way, and so they don't come out and talk about it? Whereby, if it's something that's new to you, you go because they've kind of lived with it,
Yes.
so they've become used to it.
Yes.
And why do I need to discuss it?
Exactly.
Because it's me. I've lived with it, but that's not
Absolutely.
true, is it?
Absolutely. But we all learn from each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
We all learn from each other. And so what we're doing, we were talking about the work thing earlier.
Yeah.
What we've realized is that a lot of people with sickle cell have gone through social issues, economic issues, they're going through financial issues.
Yeah.
So those are the issues that we address
Yeah.
at Wholesome Cells. We also, kind of like address the nutrition factors.
Yeah.
But most of all,
Yeah.
what we're, trying so hard to do is to make sure that people that are out of work, it's kind of like an empowerment program we're going to be running.
Oh, that would be
Um,
because they need a lot of support.
A
don't
lot
they?
of support.
Yeah. Mm.
So if they can get in touch with us, we've got our website and everything. They
Yeah.
can always email us. We've got a Facebook page, and would really like
Well,
to.
I'm sure if they Google wholesome cells,
Yeah.
UK, is it, or is it just
Wholesome Cells, just wholesomecells.org.
Just wholesome cells, yeah.
Wholesomecells.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can get in touch with us that way. We're really, really here because once you've gone through something, it takes, you understand exactly what people are going through.
Do you know what? There's actually somebody who I think I need to introduce to you. I need to get you his details. And I met him the last time I went to Homerton. And one of the things that the person that my friend actually introduced him to me, and one of the things she was talking about was the fact that he's isolated. One, being a man, so all of a sudden, he's not, like the image of the man is a macho thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're in and out of hospital, you're no longer that macho person, and one of the things he did say was that, his family have less time for him because they're tired of him falling ill all the time. So it's like, okay, how much more can we do to you? So, and he was admitted into hospital, and when I met him, he had gone home to get some stuff. And I'm thinking, for such a person needs somebody to do that for him. So I'm hoping that your organisation, because I think it sounds like families of sickle cell sufferers also need to be educated on the type of support and why they need to support that person.
Absolutely.
And you guys do that type of stuff as well. Brilliant.
So we do that. So those are little things. You can always visit our website, visit our Facebook page. We have a Twitter account. Hardly used, but we do have one.
I hardly use mine either. It's so hard juggling everything, isn't it? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. It's like you end up focusing on one because it makes an impact. So at least they can visit your Facebook page, Google you,
Google us, and we are.
And that is for friends, families, because sometimes friends and families can bring people to you, can't you? You know, somebody who's concerned about someone can bring that person to you. And I think it's also very good with, we've got 1 minute left, but I think it is also a big, massive positive thing for me, seeing the three of you sitting here, because at least that says to other sickle cell sufferers out there that it's not the end of the road.
Absolutely.
But before we go, would you like to give a message to people out there, family, friends and sufferers?
I'll give that to Tony.
Okay, go on today.
Okay, things can always change. They changed for me. Not everyone's situation is the same. Basically, what you'll find is maybe one person can do this or that. You can't do it. There may be something you can do that they can't do. You need to remember that a lot of it is actually looking for ways you can accomplish what you want to do.
Absolutely.
It's not impossible. It's just a bit more difficult, and it requires you to be a bit more inventive and get help from those people, like from his organisation, which can actually help you and give you advice.
Thank you so much for that, Janae. Thank you. I couldn't have said it better. Do you know what I mean? Thank you so much. For me, thank you so much. Ruth, thank you so much. I'm really, really grateful, because I feel that this is, it's really important information, because it is a disorder that is mainly within the black community and the Asian community, and there is so little awareness around it, and we're having to fight for that awareness, and loads of people out there need support. I hope that anybody watching, if you have family, friends, relatives, anyone, you yourself, if you need support, you know where to go. And like Fumi said, wholesomecells.org. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. See you next week, and good night.
Badu Magazine, Africa's #1 magazine with the best entertainment in the UK. Essential information on business opportunities, latest happening in the entertainment scenes, student parties, house of worship conferences, and much more. For advert placement and business listings, we are equally your #1. Get your copy now at our website at badumagazine.com and various outlets in and around Nigeria, UK, USA, and Canada.
Magazine. Go and grab your copy now. Bedu ni hello. Bedu magazine. Bedu ni hello.
It's okay to lose control.